Hello trucker family, this is Kevin with the trucker side. As you well know, our team is always on the trucker side. We're always putting in the work to try and make everybody successful in trucking, to try and get some of the truth and some of the practicality back into the industry. And we are back with another weekly video of the loads that we book. Make sure you follow all the way to the end. There's gonna be quite some numbers over here. There's people that made good averages per mile. There's people that made high gross amounts throughout the week. You want to make sure you see all of those. And also, before I get the video started, I do want to encourage other people from other niches rather than the spot market that we're working on to send us their numbers. If you want us to share it, we'd like to share those and discuss them a little bit so that people get a better understanding of the situation in the trucking industry outside the spot market. So yeah, for anybody who's interested, give us a comment or send us an email and we can definitely post that information if you're willing to share it with us. Thank you for that. And we'll get to the loads that we booked over here. We're going to start off with Tariq. Tariq is hauling a dry van. He ran 2 loads this week. 2 loads is pretty light, so it means he only picked up and delivered twice. He started off the week in Kentucky, Hardinsburg, Kentucky to Missoula, Montana, 1,859 loaded miles, paying $5,298 for the average of $285 per mile. This was a load of 39,000 pounds of thin brick panels. And the second load of the week, Superior, Montana to Louisville, Kentucky, 1,910 loaded miles, 58 empty miles, paying $3,750 to the truck for the average of $196 per mile. 44,000 pounds of mulch. This was the second load of the week, Monday to Monday, 7 days of work. This put Tariq at $9,048 gross for the truck for 3,769 loaded miles, only 58 empty miles, totaling 3,827 miles for the average of 240 on the loaded miles and 236 on the total miles. Excellent job, Tariq. Good job, dispatch. You guys are doing great. Next off, we have Shelby. Looks like Shelby had a great week, a very light week. He had 2 loads, so this week was light from the perspective of dealing with shippers and receivers that can get annoying, and it was light on the weight as well. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Started off the week in Texas with a 1-pick 3 dropper, picking up in Far Texas, going to Macon, Georgia, Duluth, Georgia, and Alpharetta, Georgia. 1,278 loaded miles, paying $5,300 for the average of $4.15 per mile. Yes, $4.15 a mile. Very, very good rate. Very light load, 6,500 pounds of telecommunication equipment. Then the second load of the week and the last, Duluth, Georgia to Columbia, Missouri, 687 loaded miles, 11 empty miles, paying $1,700 for the average of $247 per mile, 27,000 pounds of plastic product. So another very light load. All in all, Wednesday to Wednesday, this puts Shelby at $7,000 gross for the truck for 1,965 loaded miles, only 11 empty miles, totaling 1,976 miles. So yeah, under 2,000 miles for the week, averaging 356 on the loaded miles and 354 on the total miles. Good job, Shelby. Good job, dispatch. Next off, we have Gary. Gary had 5 loads this week. Thank you, Gary. Everybody knows in the trucking industry, running 5 loads in a week is not easy. Good job. Good job handling those loads, those pickups and deliveries. We appreciate that. Gary has very good customer service. Started off the week in Tennessee. Load in Tennessee to Kissimmee, Florida. 634 loaded miles, paying $3,200. Averaging $5.05 per mile. Yes, over $5 a mile. We like to hear that. We want to hear that more often. We want everybody to be running that. This was a load of 39,000 pounds of pallets. Then out of Florida, second load of the week. Havana, Florida to Centerville, Maryland, 943 loaded miles, 280 empty miles. It is Florida. Paying $2,800 for the average of $297 per mile, 35,000 pounds of racks of plants. Then for the third load of the week, This was a one pick, three dropper, picking up in Centerville, Maryland, delivering in Altoona, Pennsylvania, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and Latrobe, Pennsylvania. 400 loaded miles, one empty mile, paying $1,500 for the average of $375 per mile. 30,000 pounds of nursery. Then for the fourth load of the week, Washington, PA to Frankfort, Kentucky, 341 loaded miles, 56 empty miles, paying $950 for the average of $279 per mile. 17,000 pounds of plastic products. And then for the last load of the week, Frankfort, Kentucky to Woodstock, Alabama, 430 loaded miles, one empty mile again, paying $1,500 for the average of $349 per mile. Very good load, 40,000 pounds of auto parts. All in all, Thursday to Thursday, this was a 7-day week. Gary grossed $9,950 for the truck, $50 shy of $10,000 for 2,748 loaded miles, 338 empty miles, totaling 3,086 miles, for the average of 362 on the loaded miles and 322 on the total miles. Great job, Gary. Great job, dispatch. Good effort and good results. Appreciate you guys. Then we have Reginald. Reginald is hauling a dry van. He also had 4 loads for the week. Great effort, Reginald. Great job. Started off the week in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 1,196 loaded miles, paying $2,860 for the average of $239 per mile. 44,000 pounds of resin, plastic pallets. Second load of the week, Sioux Falls, South Dakota to Grand Rapids, Michigan. 755 loaded miles, no empty miles. It picked up in the same spot like the previous load, paying $1,800 for the average of $238 per mile. 40,000 pounds of miscellaneous products. Then for the third load of the week, we had a one pick, two dropper, Fowlerville, Michigan to Coal City, Illinois, and Rogers, Arkansas. 826 loaded miles, 96 empty miles, paying $2,700 for the average of $327 per mile. 41,000 pounds of plastic materials. And then for the last load of the week, we had a Fort Smith, Arkansas going to Calhoun, Georgia. 671 loaded miles, 81 empty miles, paying $1,700 for the average of $253 per mile. 44,000 pounds of storage equipment. This was a 7-day week, Friday to Friday. Reginald grossed $9,660 for the truck for 3,448 loaded miles, 177 empty miles, totaling 3,625 miles for the average of 263 on the loaded miles and 250 on the total. Excellent work, very well done. Good job, Reginald. Good job, dispatch. You guys are making a great team. Next off, we have Jay. Jay only had 2 loads this week. That doesn't seem like he worked a lot, but he sure made a lot of money. Started off the week in West Jordan, Utah. Oh, and by the way, he's hauling a flatbed. Jay is hauling a flatbed. And started off the week in Utah, West Jordan, Utah to Fort Worth, Texas. 1,207 loaded miles, paying $2,200 for the average of $182 per mile. 48,000 pounds of bricks. I know a lot of people are gonna say that's little money, that he shouldn't have hauled the load, but wait for the return trip. The second load of the week, Gilmer, Texas to Magna, Utah. 1,376 loaded miles, 150 empty miles, paying $6,400 for the average of $465 a mile. Yep, $6,400 for the average of $465 per mile. 47,000 pounds of hydraulic systems for machinery. 5 days of work, Monday to Friday. $8,600 in gross for 2,583 loaded miles, 150 empty miles, totaling 2,733 miles, total miles, for the average of 333 on the loaded miles and 315 on the total. Awesome work for 5 days of working. Definitely a good week. Made it home for the weekend. Fresh to start again next Monday. And then lastly, we have Oscar. Oscar's always a hard worker. We definitely appreciate Oscar. Started off the week with a one pick, 3 dropper, picking up in Urbana, Iowa, delivering in Coppell, Texas, Houston, Texas, and Richmond, Texas. 1,136 loaded miles, paying $3,200 for the average of $282 per mile, 44,000 pounds of freight all kinds. Second load of the week, 2 out of 4, Houston, Texas to Fonda, Iowa, 1,027 loaded miles, 30 empty miles, paying $2,810 for the average of $274 per mile, 44,000 pounds of chemical products, non-hazmat. Then the third load of the week, Sioux City, Iowa to Kansas City, Kansas, 275 loaded miles, 90 empty miles, paying $1,010 for the average of $367 per mile, 39,000 pounds of bakery products. Then the last load of the week, Riverside, Missouri to Jackson, Missouri, 348 loaded miles, 5 empty miles, paying $1,300 for the average of $374 per mile, 40,000 pounds of block pallets. Wednesday to Wednesday, 7 days of work. Oscar grossed $8,320 for the truck for 2,786 loaded miles, 125 empty miles, totaling 2,911 miles, for the average of $299 on the loaded mile and $286 on the total miles. Very good job, Oscar. Very good job, dispatch. Appreciate the hard work. Also, we appreciate everybody watching our videos. This was the last truck of the week. We're always on the trucker side. I'm going to remind everybody we would like to hear more rates and see more information about rates from other niches than the one we work in. It would be very helpful to our community, and I think it would be very informational for truck drivers around to get a bit of understanding on the variety that is going on in the industry and not just the niche that we are working with. Again, my name is Kevin. We're always on the trucker side. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good day.